The decision of the chief of police to participate in a police training exchange in apartheid Israel raises significant ethical and moral questions, especially considering the fact that there is an active investigation against the apartheid state that is under the most public and intense international scrutiny for actively committing a genocide.
I have a personal question as a Palestinian American. Do we know whether he actually went into Gaza or in the West Bank and had live training while he was over there?
I don't think that we can have that kind of exchange right now, but we can have the information for you for an interview or for a future agenda item.
If he had traveled a few miles east from where he was being trained, he would have found the truth. And the truth is that Israel is subjugating the Palestinians to Jim Crow. Okay? Now, please let that sink in. Our Milwaukee police chief is going to Jim Crow South to get trained on the hands of the perpetrators. He traveled on white-only roads over there. Okay, I need everyone here to actually reflect and don't take that lightly.
Our tax dollars already fund suffering of our people overseas. It is unacceptable for those same dollars to send local law enforcement to Israel to learn tactics that will be used against our own communities.
I hope you will immediately ban all training exchanges with Israel and any other international exchanges involving military-style training. I'm a Palestinian junior in high school and the 3rd District Representative on the Milwaukee City Youth Council. To be clear, I'm not just here because I don't have school tomorrow. I'm here because I strongly condemn the police chief's recent trip to Israel, which is a genocidal state engaged in settler colonialism, ethnocentrism, and the eradication of the native Palestinian people. Is that what we want to support? I don't. And it's obvious to me Milwaukee citizens don't support you either because of this packed room. Thank you.
Thank you.
His decision isn't just a policy error, it's a moral and legal failure that compromises the integrity of the entire department. This trip poses a direct threat to the safety of our own community. These exchanges typically involve the transfer of the worst practices, such as racial profiling, the militarization of police responses, and invasive surveillance techniques. We have seen the results of this militarized mindset on our own streets in the US with many other departments and currently with ICE, who also saw training with the apartheid regime. It's going to be our black, brown, and immigrant neighbors who will pay the price.
The Palestinians are being forced to live in segregated concentration camps, getting lynched by the Israeli army on live television. These same tactics that are being learned are used against our black, brown, immigrant, and marginalized communities because of this collaboration with the apartheid state. It starts with dehumanization, and it ends with boot on the neck, chokeholds, using live ammunition, and prejudicial executions. That's how they do it there. Is that what we want to learn?
I'm here to demand the FPC recommend to the City Council a total ban on any exchanges of training, tech, and software between MPD and Israeli military and law enforcement agencies.
We do not want the same tactics and technologies Israel uses to oppose and torture the Palestinians abroad brought into our communities here in Milwaukee. As Palestinian and Arab, I know exactly what counterterrorism is used to justify violence and repression. We are now seeing some of the dangerous logic applied at home, where broad definitions of domestic terrorism put people who speak out or protest at risk. Thank you.
No one sitting on this commission truly understands the word military occupation. And if you did, you would have seen what was wrong with this all along. You would have seen the checkpoints, the subjugation, the interrogations, the discrimination. You would have seen that I am not afforded the luxury of having and being able to see my own family. You would have seen the group of 10 Israeli soldiers almost beat my dad to death for nothing more than being Palestinian. You would have seen how my mother was jailed at the age of 12 for no charges. you would have seen how just this harvest season, the illegal settlers, under the protection of the IDF, stole our entire family's olive harvest at gunpoint. I can go on and on, but the troubling reality is that no one should have this many traumatic stories about atrocities happening to them and their family for so long, just to be ignored by the world. And I am not alone with these stories. It is guaranteed that every single Palestinian, every single one, with family in Gaza or West Bank, has these stories. The one thing I hear from people much like you on the commission is, well, what can I do? What effect do I have on what's going on so far away? So here is your chance. For once, think of our experiences equal to yours. Think of the Palestinian experience. Stop eroding our trust and ask yourself, would you really be okay with the people that have been continuously trying to erase and wipe your family off the earth for generations, training those that take an oath to serve and protect you?
It's clear that Chief Norman's training has further opened a dangerous door in Milwaukee, one that celebrates militarized fascist policing. The Campaign to End Deadly Exchanges describes the threat like this, quote, "One of the most dangerous places where state violence in the US and Israel converge is in exchange programs that bring together police, ICE, Border Patrol, and the FBI from the US with soldiers, police, border agents from Israel. In these programs, worst practices are shared to promote and extend discriminatory and repressive policing in both countries. These include racial profiling, massive spying and surveillance, deportation and detention, and attacks on human rights defenders. I was first here on April 17th, 2025, Palestinian Prisoners' Day, to speak out against MPD's plans to acquire its own facial recognition tech and to share my experience living under Israel's racist, apartheid, genocidal occupation, whose roadmap to fascism is paved with surveillance. In my remarks that day, I said to you all, quote, I implore you to seek answers from the MPD as to whether or not they have ever or are considering doing training exchanges with Israel, a dangerous practice that many police departments have already engaged in. Excuse me. And I wasn't taken seriously that day by any one of you. But today I'm here because I need you to take me seriously now. And I need you to ask these questions and to demand answers from Chief Norman. First, who recruited him to attend this training? Second, who paid for it and how? When did he go and who knew about this trip before he went? Specifically, did Mayor Johnson know? What was the training curriculum like? What was it like? And how does the chief plan to disseminate what he learned to his police officers? What was the chief's motivation to participate in this training? And was it done, at least in part, to boost his resume because he's still trying to leave Milwaukee for a different job? You say this trip was not funded by taxes. Yet our taxes were involved either way because we paid the chief's salary and he participated in his capacity as police chief, as noted on the GINSO website. How is oversight of such travel and training supposed to work, and did the chief follow protocol? If there are loopholes that can be exploited so the chief got to go on this training without reporting it and that somehow does not violate policy, then something must change about the policy. And I will say it is not good enough for you to respond that Act 12 ties your hands or that of the Common Council. Will this excuse be enough to help you sleep at night when your neighbors are literally having their hands tied for exercising free speech, decrying immoral laws, and protecting their neighbors from next-level racist violence of ICE? And speaking of ICE, they train with Israel, as you've heard, and you can see that through the violence and also through the use of militarized checkpoints, constant surveillance, and arbitrary detentions and arrests. Our community fears an ICE invasion, and the primary demand of the MPD, from the community, has been a commitment to non-collaboration, and yet the MPD has said they don't have a plan. In a system of ranks and hierarchy, no plan defaults to falling in line with what your superiors demand. And when the community resists ICE actions, we'll be labeled as domestic terrorists, and counterterrorism tactics and laws can be applied to us. I'm almost done. Every Palestinian in Milwaukee will agree with me when I say, we don't want the same tactics and technologies that Israel uses to torture and kill our loved ones abroad to be used by the police on our loved ones here in Milwaukee. And it should not be happening in either place.
You are at time.
I'm going to finish real quick. It's just the end of the paragraph.
Please briefly conclude.
Yep.
Quickly.
Our tax dollars should not be funding the genocide of Palestinians, and none of our public officials should engage with Israel in any way, shape, or form other than to condemn the genocide and occupation, to seek justice for it. And my last message to the chief, on behalf of every Palestinian
you
whose
are
life
over
has been
time,
altered,
ma'am.
diminished, and outright stolen by the genocidal freaks you cozied up with, Tfu alek wa agenda mak.
This erodes the fragile bond of trust between the community and the police because it turns the idea of protect and serve into occupy and control.
But you guys didn't know that he went on his trip.
Chief Norman did properly notify the Fire and Police Commission in advance of the trip.
So then just one question off that you did say that it was not a tax funded trip, correct?
That's my understanding.
Was he still getting paid while he was there?
The chief is a salaried employee, so he doesn't get paid by the hour. He gets a salary.
So was his salary continuous while he was on genocide training?
There was no break in his salary.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
In what capacity was the Fire and Police Commission notified of this travel ahead of time? Because the first time I found out about this was when we were asking questions about why Chief Norman had been traveling for 60 days last year, which is a relatively long amount of time, and then received information on his travel.
So the chief's office forwards an advance notice when he's going to be out of the office to myself and my staff, and then typically it is forwarded to all the commissioners right after that.
But it
So,
doesn't
to
necessarily-
clarify, it does not say where he's going.
I don't think it does.
I believe it does. I can look back and try to find the exact notice.
Okay, I think we should do that.
So
No, I'll look into it.
it is something that's documented, so we'll get to it.
I did locate the letter, and it does indicate the destination.
It does. We will have to read more carefully.
I mean, I think the point is well made, though, which is like if there's gaps in the oversight process related to trainings, then like we should close that up. Right? That's the point. At least part.
I just wanted to clarify, so you did say that you received the letter, but then you need to read it better next time? So what is your responsibility to the public for that then? It's not really clear to us all in the room still here.
I can't speak for the entire commission, but I certainly want to apologize because it seems like we had this information a month before it came out. The information is not provided to us ahead of time in the capacity that we could stop anything, since this is an out-of-office notice for 12/1 that we would have received when Chief Norman was already traveling. So I want to both apologize and point out a critical failure if we're not able to review travel ahead of time, in particular travel to a genocidal state that I think it should have been incredibly obvious would have a tremendously negative impact on community trust. And I called this trip unconscionable. I think that for many Milwaukeeans, this is not something that they will ever forgive. But I do hope that you will forgive me because I could have known about this a month earlier and I didn't, and I apologize.
I appreciate that, but what about the rest of y'all? And like, what about your responsibility to the public and holding them accountable?
Madam Chair, just really quick, just as she said, we all just noticed it just now. That's why we allowed her to have the floor. So her statement about the email that was received was really for
The
all of us.
notice,
for
but what
clarity.
about the training? So they don't have to provide to you guys in advance, like, hey, we're going to go train in Israel to do counterterrorism training? Like, that's not an oversight point that you would discuss before they were approved to do that? Because if I went into my job and I took off 60 days for vacation, I definitely wouldn't be paid for one, and for two, I'd probably get fucking fired. So I'm just curious, like.
Are our leaders in Milwaukee being compromised by the Israeli Mossad? Are these leaders working for a foreign government or for the people in this city? Free Palestine and free the world from Zionism.